of your favorite songs.
Keep your dial locked this holiday season. Keep your dial locked this holiday season on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar.
WADR is here to sprinkle some musical magic on your festive celebration.
Party after party.
This holiday season, we bring you good music.
Stay locked with us this holiday season.
Shoot, Peru. What do you do?
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
West Africa Démocratie Radio 94.9 FM à Dakar, la radio pour le dialogue et la paix.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Port Novo. Many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to NEWSLINK. First, the headlines. The Beninese government announces immediate suspension of a ban on transportation of goods via Cotonou port to Niger months after July 26. Senegal's Constitutional Council set to validate candidate sponsorship as opposition. Sonko's party confirms submission.
All the judges that have taken this case, they have decided to prevent him from running for next election. That's why they refuse to give all the papers to his representative, Ayib Daffé, so as to submit and to withdraw his papers.
Gambian members of parliament hold a national dialogue over the alarming trend of irregular migration.
Irregular migration has claimed the lives of many of our young ones, leaving families shattered and communities in mourning. It is an alarming reality that calls for a united response.
And the Central Bank of Nigeria affirms banking sector stability, urging the public to disregard unverified claims. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with NEWSLINK.
A warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, and Liberia. The midday edition of NEWSLINK opens with a development in Benin as the government lifts the ban on transportation of goods to Niger. The move by the Beninese government comes 5 months after it suspended the movement of goods through the Cotonou port destined for Niamey. While the announcement late Wednesday followed a televised address by President Patrice Talon last Thursday in which he assured of renewing bilateral relations with neighboring Coast State, a senior port official had a different submission. The Director General of the Cotonou port, Bad Van Ino, asserts that the measure was taken given the substantial improvement in the operational conditions for handling goods at the port. Recall sanctions imposed on Nigeria by ECOWAS after the overthrow of President Mohamed Bazoum on July 26 saw Benin and Nigeria both closed their land borders and suspended all trans-border commercial activities. Since then, however, Cotonou has seen a fall in revenues after the transport of goods to Niger, which makes up about 80% of trade volume via its ports, halted. In Niger, civil society organizations and state actors have expressed support for the military government's decision to review military agreements with international partners. The plan to review military cooperation with allies followed France's expulsion from the country by the ruling junta under the aegis of the CNSP. All countries with military bases in Niamey, including the United States, Germany, and Italy, have been informed of this decision, which has been positively received in the capital, Niamey. Taufik Abdel Nasser has put this report, filed in by WADR's correspondent, Murtala Zubairu.
The move by Niger's authorities to reassess military accords with global allies has garnered approval from civil society groups. Michael Zodi, the president of Turning the Page on Niger platform, expressed support for this initiative. Security expert Bounty Jallo opines that Niger has every right to evaluate the presence of international military bases within its borders. Niger's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has indicated that a preliminary memorandum of understanding will soon be presented to its international partners, aiming to, as stated, revitalize bilateral collaboration. Notably, last week, the final contingent of French troops departed from the proposed Niamey military facility.
Tawfiq Abdinasru, that report filed by WADR's Niamey correspondent Murtala Zubairu. Still in the Sahel, the growing diplomatic rift between Algiers and Bamako climaxed, with both governments recalling representatives assigned to Mali and Algeria. The subtle battle began when the Algerian ambassador was summoned to Bamako, with transitional authorities criticizing Algeria for inviting individuals considered hostile to them as part of an initiative to relaunch the peace agreement. An influential Islamic scholar, Imam Mahmoud Diko, was among those accused by the Malian authorities of interfacing with neighboring Algeria. He currently faces an accusation of treason, which he vehemently denies. The strained relations between Mali and Algeria raise concerns about the potential lasting impact on the peace agreement. Malian political analyst Isiaka Tamboura has been speaking to WADR.
The Malian authorities called for the ambassadors, and then Algiers did the same thing. This shows the will of the Malian authorities who want to go by force with the armed groups on the ground, rather than by diplomacy, by dialogue. This translates into the vision of Bamako, which today is not willing to go to dialogue, but to go with the boss. The agreement with the state is acidic, because this agreement does not still provide for the return of armed groups from Malian territories as Nkombamoko is doing. The agreement was made at the Belizean time, and the agreement created conditions to end the fact that has been observed for 8 years. It is over, it is done, it is over for this cooperation between the forces on the ground, especially the ex-rebels and the Malian army. It is now the Belizean one. The agreement with the state is now over. I do not rule out the possibility that in the future, the Malian authorities review their position and that they will agree to dialogue with the armed groups that will come to the negotiating table to finally find a new security arrangement that the North can take note of.
Isiaka Tamboura is a Malian political analyst. Here in Senegal, the 7 judges of the Constitutional Council will tomorrow, Friday, December 29, draw lots to validate the sponsorship of the presidential candidates for the upcoming February 2024 elections. Addressing the media on Thursday, supporters of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko confirmed they had received their summons. The representative from the dissolved PASTEF party stated that they had submitted all required documents to the Constitutional Council. Despite facing challenges, including the refusal of the Directorate General of Elections to issue them sponsorship forms, Ousmane Sonko and his team successfully compiled the necessary paperwork. Dan Mboj, a member of the Sonko 2024 coalition, has been speaking on the developments.
It's important that we talk with the international community, because in Senegal, which used to be one of the strongest democracies in the world, today we are facing a situation that we have never faced in our history. We have a candidate whose name is Ousmane Sonko, who has been tortured everywhere. The outgoing president, after announcing that he was not going to run for a third illegal term, he decided to prevent Ousmane Sonko from being candidate for next presidential election. And this is something that can create turmoil in Senegal, it can create troubles in Senegal, and we want the international community to know it. All the judges that have taken this case, they have decided that Ousmane Sonko should be a candidate for next presidential election. Now they have decided to prevent him from running for next election. That's why they refuse to give all the papers to his representative, Ayib Daffé, so as to submit and to withdraw his papers. Now, with all that we know from the former judgments from the Supreme Court and from the Constitutional Court, we know that even if there are some missing documents, it has been replaced by what we noticed in the whole process, that they refuse to let him withdraw his papers. So what we can say to Senegalese people and to the international community is Ousmane Sonko is candidate for next election in Senegal, and we want President Macky Sall to stop using strategies to prevent him from running for elections.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. NewsLink continues.
We're live on WADR.org. The Guinean government says the fire at the country's main oil depot, which killed 24 people and injured 454 others, according to a new report, has been completely extinguished. The outage was done 9 days after it started, the government said, adding that cooling operations in all segments of the oil facility are continuing. The government added that the area affected by the fire remains closed to the public for investigation purposes. Imo Edet tells us more.
The government said the fire has so far been brought under control. The death toll has risen to 24, of which 11 bodies remain unidentified, the statement said. Reports of missing persons are continuing. Of the 454 injured people admitted to medical facilities since the disaster, 31 are still in hospital and 423 have returned to their families. According to the government, in terms of air quality, readings in Kadlum show an improvement in the indicators, but the wearing of masks remains recommended. On Saturday, the government resumed the distribution of petrol, rationing it at 25 litres per vehicle and 5 litres per motorbike and tricycle, with a ban on serving cans. Tanker traffic resumed under escort, particularly from neighboring Sierra Leone. An initial survey had counted 800 damaged buildings, most of them within 500 meters of the epicenter of the fire. The statement said so far 460 households have benefited from food kits distributed by the government, and distribution is continuing to cover the 2,141 households affected. In all, more than 11,000 people were directly affected by the fire.
A more edit with those updates. Meanwhile, Liberia's health sector has announced a death toll from Tuesday's fuel tank explosion in Bong County. According to state information, at least 40 people, including a pregnant woman, were killed in the blaze. Recall dozens of people were caught up in flames when they went to scoop fuel from an overturned tanker that was transporting over 9,000 gallons of PMS. Our Monrovia correspondent, Darlington Popper, has more.
Liberia's Chief Medical Officer Dr. Francis Kitty revealed that many of the victims were so severely burned that their identities were unrecognizable. On Wednesday, as more than 40 individuals were laid to rest in collective graves in Bong County, Dr. Kitty warned that the death count could rise as the contact tracing process continues.
For now, it is still a moving target. So we know that there are more than 40 persons. We saw 10 bodies, including a pregnant woman who died along with the fetus. So, this is something that is so major, and we're trying to do all we can. So we are doing everything, working with our various community. The minister has been talking to some of the pharmaceutical outlets in Monrovia to get some supply, including WHO. And so we are trying to talk to as many persons. We also went into our warehouse to see what we have there in order to make sure that we distribute them as soon as possible.
In a notable development, Odishi Kemo, the tankers owner, publicly commented on the tragedy, placing blame on the Totota residents in Bong County for triggering the explosion.
People came to look the gas, and then other people are now finding ways to get it from the place they were leaking. So the other top of the tanker that was closed, they were bursting it with iron. So the friction caused the fire. It is a great setback. Myself, I didn't go on the scene. So any other person that asked for Totota, they said they didn't really know the total of people that left in the fire.
Meanwhile, President George Weah extended his heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families. He urged the public to support the affected families during this trying time, emphasizing that the Liberian National Red Cross and other governmental agencies are actively assisting in relief and medical support. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Popper in Monrovia.
Now we cross over to the Gambia, where members of parliament have initiated a national dialogue on migration in response to the escalating issue of irregular migration. The gathering convened an estimated 150 individuals from key sectors, including government representatives, youth groups, political parties, CSOs, and religious leaders. From Banjul, Sankule Janko reports.
The National Dialogue on Migration aims to unite stakeholders for open discussions leading to a cohesive national migration framework. Spearheaded by the Foreign Ministry and supported by the IOM, Momodu Tangara, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Gambians Abroad, leads the initiative.
The urgency of this gathering cannot be overstated. Irregular migration has claimed the lives of many of our young ones, leaving families shattered and communities in mourning. It is an alarming reality that calls for a united response.
The pressing issue of Gambian youth perishing at sea has heightened concerns. Alaji Jaju from the National Youth Council emphasizes the direct urgency given recent fatalities.
Migration, as it has been said, is everyone's business, and it should be a whole society approach. Without a doubt, the government has played a pivotal role in ensuring that it is able to better the lives of our young people, and it is primarily government's responsibility to certainly do so.
Significant strides in addressing migration are evident, yet challenges persist. The rising sea fatalities underscore the need for more youth empowerment initiatives. Debates over deportations and governmental roles add complexity. The civil society's involvement is crucial in the dialogue. John Charles Njai, a CSO member, highlights their role in shaping the conversation.
We will today appreciate every frank opinion, expert analysis, and salient recommendations to chart a path for a national comprehensive management of migration that will be the pride of Africa. We are not here to point fingers, but rather to map a clear way forward. This in no way means that we will not hold our primary duty bearers responsible.
The expected outcomes include launching a unified whole-of-society approach for migration intervention. The goal is a coordinated strategy to address migration challenges. For NEWSLINK in West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Sankula Janko reporting from Banjul.
You are listening to NEWSLINK here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. The Beninese government announces immediate suspension of ban on transportation of goods via Cotonou ports to Niger months after July 26. Senegal's Constitutional Council set to validate candidate sponsorships as opposition Sonko's party confirms submission. Gambian members of parliament hold a national dialogue over the alarming trend of irregular migration. Still ahead in the news, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, affirms banking sector stability, urging the public to disregard unverified claims. We also have the press review and sports update. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. NEWSLINK continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. This is NEWSLINK. Now, Ghana's Office of the Special Prosecutor and the Judicial Service have promised to work together in fighting corruption. This follows a meeting between Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Tokonu and Special Prosecutor Kisi Ajapon. Ajapon, last month, in an address to the media, cautioned of a seeming trend of judicial dismissiveness of the work of his office, citing 4 cases. From Accra, WEDR's Na Diditete reports.
In his November presser, Special Prosecutor Kisi Jabing drew attention to a concerning trend of dismissive rulings in corruption cases pursued by his office. Notable instances included the refusal to freeze the late Kojo Owusu-Efriye's estate and the rejection of the request to freeze the accounts of former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Abinadapa. Kisi Jabing highlighted the High Court's decision to nullify his office's report implicating Colonel Kwejo Damwa and Joseph Eduche in the Labianca case, further barring the OSP from investigating the individuals. According to the OSP, this raised broader concerns about the judiciary's commitment to upholding the rule of law and combating corruption.
There appears to be a developing trend of rather regressive and dismissive judicial decisions in respect of cases involving the OSP, with troubling consequences. And it seems to us that a careful examination of these outcomes portends a disturbing specter that the fight against corruption is being hampered to the disbenefit of us all.
However, it seems the two institutions have made progress in resolving these issues. In a joint statement by the OSP and the Judicial Service, both entities expressed shared concerns over obstacles in prosecuting politically exposed cases due to judicial conduct, echoing Kisi Jabing's earlier sentiments. They stressed the pivotal roles of both institutions in combating corruption, acknowledging the severe threats it poses to the country's development and democracy. Xavier Kuje, the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Bar Association, commended this effort, hailing it as a renewed commitment and collaboration in the fight against graft.
This is welcome news that is commendable. We see this as renewed commitment between the judiciary and the office of the special prosecutor to fight corruption and corruption-related activities.
For WADR, Nadidi Teti, Accra.
Nigerians have received assurance from the Apex Bank of the financial sector's reliability to sustain the economy, especially regarding customers' deposits in commercial banks. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in a statement urged customers to proceed with their regular banking transactions without being swayed by unverified claims regarding the health of Nigerian banks, particularly those that did not emanate from the CBN. WADR's Abuja correspondent Usman Umar completes the story.
The Central Bank of Nigeria reassured the public of its capability in maintaining the stability of Nigeria's financial system in response to media reports suggesting potential takeover of certain CBN-supervised financial institutions. The CBN's acting director of corporate communications, Hakama Sidi Ali, emphasized the safety of Nigerian banks. Sidi Ali urged the public not to be swayed by unsubstantiated reports about the bank's health, emphasizing that the CBN remains fully equipped for its regulatory responsibilities. This clarification follows revelations by the CBN's special investigator, Jim Obaze, who disclosed that the former governor of the CBN, Godwin Emefiele, allegedly used proxies to establish accounts. Such findings sparked rumors that the CBN might intervene with Titan Trust, formerly Union Bank, and Keystone Bank. Appointed in July 2023, Obaze presented his comprehensive report tagged Report of the Special Investigation on CBN and Related Entities Chargeable Offences to the Presidency on December 28, 2023. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
Today's press review takes us to Accra, Ghana, where Na Deditete joins us with briefs of major headlines from online news portals as the national dailies are all on break.
In Accra today, the newspapers are on break because of the festive season. Most of them are likely to return by next week. But let's find out what the various news portals here are reporting. And I'll start off with graphiconline.com. Graphiconline.com, the banner headline here reads, Ghanaian chef Fialatu Abdul Razak eyes world record with cooking. Also here, Asanteman Council sets February 6 and 8 to commemorate 1874 Sagrenti War. Two more stories on the graphiconline.com portal. It says here, watch the moment Ifua Asantua hit 105 hours in the sing-a-thon. Well, there is a Ghanaian lady attempting to break the Guinness World Record for an individual singing for long hours. The current record holder stands at 105 hours. Ifua has been able to beat that today, and she's seeking to go an extra 15 hours to make it 120. And then after that, add 9 more hours as a buffer. Just in case after the scrutiny, some deductions are done here and there, she will still have some hours on her hand to keep the record. Let me take you to starfm.com.gh. Banner headline, stop scrambling for our space in Parliament when we still have life in us. Katie Hammond to the youth. Or Katie Hammond is a member of Parliament for Adansi Asokwa, and he's been speaking because he just picked his nomination forms to contest in the 2024 parliamentary race on the ticket of the NPP. Also, ride-hailing drivers to embark on nationwide strike over VIT implementation. The VIT is a vehicle income tax. Final portal, citynewsroom.com. Banner headline, Chairman Sabunsu, 17 other NPP MPs to voluntarily exit Parliament. Also here, National Security denies deliberately killing 2 people in the Akan constituency. And final one, DVLA faces out old manual system of vehicle registration, other related services. So that'll be it for the press review here, the online portals version. My name is Nadi Disete. Back to you in the studio.
Let's now join Sankle Janko for Sports Update.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Guinea international Mulai Silla has been left out of the Guinea squad for the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations after falling out with the manager over a shot he swapped with Vinicius Jr., according to media reports. Guinea will kick off their campaign when they take on Cameroon on January 15 before facing Gambia and reigning African champions Senegal in the AFCON. They will be without midfielder Sidla, who has failed to make the squad after reportedly getting into an argument with teammates and the manager after their 4-1 loss to Brazil in June. Following the defeat, the 25-year-old swapped shirts with Real Madrid superstar Vinicius Jr. before the shirt mysteriously vanished in the dressing room. An aggrieved Silva started to point fingers at teammates before accusing the manager, Kaba Jawara, of theft. He is then said to have insisted on undergoing a thorough search of the whole dressing room, intensifying tensions further. Silla is yet to apologize and has paid the high price of missing the highly anticipated tournament despite being capped 23 times. That is quite an interesting story. He accused the manager of stealing his shirt that was given to him by Brazil and Real Madrid superstar Vinicius Jr. And for that being the case, the manager decided that probably he's going to be a problem for the squad, and he was dropped for the AFCON. And quickly, with this transfer news, Eintracht Frankfurt completed the deal of Rafael Durusime to join the club for 9 million euros from Victoria Pleasant. The Nigerian international arrives on Thursday, as called by Bild. The medical is already booked. Second signing after Donny van der Beek, already 100% done. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and David Vincent for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio, English service, and stream live on WADR.org. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is WADR's environment program, Enviroscope, to be immediately followed by the second edition of our comprehensive news package in French, Info Chez Vous, at the top of the hour of 1 p.m. with Demba Amar-An. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to NewsLink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0, and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County. For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.
Hello, West Africa. I am Taufik Abdul Nasir, and I'm thrilled to announce the return of In the Sahel Season 2.